On live now?
We are live. What's up, people?
Okay, so Lou,
We're
you
having
want to get things
technical
started?
difficulties, as you can hear. Tori's echoing, and I don't think Lou can hear me.
I can hear you fine.
Oh, okay. All right, great. Well,
I can even see you.
okay.
Yeah, I didn't know if, I can see you and hear you fine.
All right. Well,
I
everybody
can see Lou. I can't see Lois.
Can you try taking your headset off using your computer? Or Lou, can you tell him that? Because I don't think he can hear me.
Tori, take your headset off, unplug your computer, and try just the unplug the headset and just use the computer. He may need to go out and come back in.
Can you hear us, Tori?
Tori, he can't hear us.
Okay.
Okay, Lou, say something.
Can you hear me, Tori? Tori, 1, 2, 3,
Wow,
4,
I can't
5.
hear anything out of the computer
All right.
at all.
Yeah, you can't hear. I'm gonna tell him to put the headset on.
All right.
Headset.
Okay, everybody in YouTube and Facebook. We have technical difficulties. Okay, I had to mute Tori. Okay, so listen, we have a special guest that we're trying to get in on screen here. As soon as he gets his computer right, we'll be ready to go. And we'd like to thank everybody in the chat room for coming to Playing in Traffic, and everybody on Facebook and YouTube live.
While you guys get Sam on, I gotta do a little bit of housekeeping. Hey, Maco Man Brian helped out one of my students yesterday, and I appreciate it a great deal, Brian. We got one of our students, they have it's called a skills club, and they had a North Carolina event, and whoever wins the North Carolina event goes on to the nationals. And if you win the nationals, you go on to the world. And this year, the world event is in Russia.
Oh, sweet.
They have guys doing masonry. I think they do some woodworking. I think they do plumbing, but they do auto body. They do a bunch of different stuff. And the guy who came from our school, this was the first time that Central Piedmont had ever been in. They'd never been in before. Mm-hmm. And when he entered, they told him, all you do is show up. We'll have tools for you, everything. He shows up. They had nothing. He was supposed to bring everything. Yeah. Wow. So he borrowed tools from the competitors and won. He won.
Oh, that probably really made him mad.
First time the school has ever done it. First time, he's the first guy to do any of this, and he wins with borrowed tools. So
nice.
He's got to get tools for the national. He has to, and he doesn't have any.
Yeah.
So I was trying to, Tina wrote me, did a letter for him, and we got that all done, and we were trying to get some stuff together, and we were actually gonna get a hold of Martin Tools and see about getting some hammers and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I just on a whim called Brian. And I told Brian what was going on. He's like, I got a set, and he's sending them to him. So I want to thank Brian for that. That's cool. What up, Sam?
What's up, man? It took some time, but I figured it out.
Don't worry. Hey, at least you got on. There's weeks when I don't get on. It's all right.
Man, I've never hit so many buttons so quickly.
Hey, we're glad you're here.
I'm sitting here sweating. I have my little towel over here ready to go. Oh God!
And there's Ray. Ray,
am I there?
Yes.
Oh, good. Yes. I don't hear myself.
Well, look, let's get going. Let's get going because we got Sam and Ray. So
that's all we need, right?
It's almost Sam and Dave.
Right. I'll start it out. My name is Louis Lee from All Ends Magazine and co-host of Playing in Traffic with Mr. Lou Santiago.
I'm in the other corner.
Oh,
the other corner.
Down low.
Go ahead, Lou. Hurry up, Lou.
I'm Lou Santiago. Host a little show called Car Fix. I also host Playing in Traffic with Louis Lee and Ray and Tori whenever he can get on. And Ray, go.
And I'm Ray Guarino from Motormouth Radio in New York, and I kind of co-host with Lou and Lewis and Tori. We're like a salad of whoever's, like mixed
Exactly.
nuts,
Whoever
right?
can get here is here, and we host.
Right.
And tonight our guest is Sam. Sam, go.
All right, I am Sam Mahdavi. I am the host of Sam's Garage Television and co-host of Sam's Garage Radio and the owner of Mahdavi Motorsports. And I'm proud to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me.
You don't have to be proud to be here. Just enjoy it.
Just enjoy. I'll enjoy it.
Like I always say to guests on my radio show, say that at the end of the show.
There you go.
Yeah, you feel that, right?
There you go. There you go.
Now,
So
Sam,
Yeah, all right. Who's gonna? Someone talk. Louis Lee, go. Go talk.
Sam.
Talk.
Ray is our affiliate radio channel. So anybody that comes on here ends up on his
Radio
show.
channel.
Man, I got a mean echo.
So that means I'll be in touch with you, Sam, to see if we can schedule you a date. I'm booking
problem.
for June now.
No problem. June will be free for me because May has been crazy. Actually, it's been crazy from February, and we're almost done filming. And so June will be perfect.
Excellent.
There you
Okay,
go.
we'll be in touch.
All right.
Awesome.
All right, we get.
That was easy.
Yes,
You
sir.
That was so easy.
So, Sam, tell us about your show.
Well, it's a how-to show. We basically are showing products and how to install those products and giving you tips along the way. Some helpful tips, when you guys are installing products or even just doing general work. Some things that you may not know, that you may not be taught in school. Some things that, we learn the hard way in the field. And I'd just like to pass that information along to the viewers and see if we can help them save some knuckles, save some money, save some trips to the store when building something or installing something.
Right. We
How
all
was
need
that?
Sounds like it was my phone.
Yeah, that was somebody's phone. It's a fail.
That's Tori sending me Dave's Sam's info. Yeah, I will mute it. I will mute that now. Yeah, Sam, I was watching some of your videos today, and I have to say, just like we all watch YouTube stuff and Google different things, and I'm real super critical of stuff like that because being in the the industry, working on cars myself, and knowing how to work with microphones and cameras and all, you kind of see the hacks right away, and I go away. But you can tell when you're watching a guy who knows what he's doing, and obviously you're like Lou, you guys, your talent comes. But Lou, you know how to fake it good. That's all. and Sam obviously has the talent, and it comes through, and it's great. It makes it so easy to watch because we pretty much follow along with everything you do. We've either been there, done that, or we've broken it ourselves. But I can see how somebody who doesn't have that level of experience can learn a lot because you make it easy. You make it easy for people to play along. It's great.
I appreciate that. I've been very fortunate to have a daily running automotive repair shop for the last 20 years. And when you have the volume that we have and the diversity in vehicles that we have, you tend to learn a lot of things that you may not hear or see in a classroom. We've been fortunate to be involved in motorsports and in racing. So therefore, when you're involved in those two things, you take cars and items to their stresses and limits, and you learn from them. You learn what breaks them. You learn what not to break, And so those are very valuable things that you learn being in a work environment in the shop with your employees and working on customers' cars and trying to figure things out. We've been very fortunate. So I just want to pass that information along as much as I could to anyone today who's willing to learn or listen, get the kids back involved in automotive repair and get their hands dirty again, get them interested in cars again. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, that's
right.
cool.
We talk about that all the time here on the show. That we need to get the kids involved.
Yeah,
and Lou, I'm not surprised that Brian stepped up with through his Macco dealership because he's another guy who really, appreciates the youth, the people coming up, and he'll do a lot. He's done a lot to help that. So it's a good community kind of finds itself and it grows off of itself.
Yeah.
Well, we've been talking about it in the last year here locally because I've had to employ staff, and it's very hard to employ people. They don't really want to do it. They don't have the pride and passion. And so in the last 6 months, because so many people have been talking about it, it's really resonated. And so what I'm seeing is so many kids, not even kids, we're talking early 20s, mid 20s, some even in their 30s, interested in cars again and wanting to come back into it and want to learn. But they have to be patient and learn slowly, no matter their age. You know what I mean? You got to learn from the grassroots and work your way up, because then you get yourself in trouble if you try to skip any steps.
Yeah.
You know, have you seen it in your arena? I know we've seen it in ours, where a lot of the newer guys, younger guys, and girls, I think, are a little better than the guys. At least I've seen. They want to do the computer stuff. They want to have the scanners. They want to do all of that stuff, but they don't want to change a part. They don't want to, like, you tell them you got to change that axle or a water pump. Like, huh? I got to get dirty.
Yeah, they don't want to get dirty.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we grew up with grease in our veins, so, you know, for us, for me, that's fun. You know, I call that a good day at work. But
it's good to get dirty. It's not good to look like total mud at the end of the day, but it's good to get dirty and get your hands dirty, because you have to learn that portion of it as well, so that when you're having a conversation with someone, you can teach them, hey, that bolt goes here. This is going to be a hex nut. This is the torque you use. You got to bang in the axle nut here. You know, you got to know those things as well. And what I'm seeing is that it's easy for these guys or girls, no matter the age, to get a scanner and get a computer and talk to the car, because they know the computer. So if they know the computer, they're one step ahead to communicating with that car, and they think the computer's communication is what fixes the car, and it's not. The computer is just a tool to talk to the car.
You still once the computer diagnoses, you still have to do the physical part.
Not only the physical part, but you have to aid the computer in aiding you to diagnose it. The computer can lie to you.
You have to interpret
you have to interpret it, decipher it, go to that point and make sure the computer is not lying to you. It could be confused or being lied to by the sensor, connector, a ground point, low voltage, stuff like that. Low voltage these days with these solid state modules are creating havoc on diagnostics, because people are sitting there trying to diagnose a car that's under 10 volts, and they're lost because it's all in shambles. You have to put a jump starter, a charger on that car, get it up to 12 volts, and then start to diagnose it. Today's cars won't even fire if there is less than 10 volts on the cranking, sequence.
You know, one of the things we say on my show is, you know, what part of a bad ground don't you understand? And professionals screw that one up. But, you know, it's funny. I was talking to a couple of kids. I did a soldering demonstration at the school where I work last week. And we were talking about automotive and scanners. And it came up to it. I said, you know, listen, on my wife's car a couple of years ago, I get an O2 sensor code. And it was a rear O2 sensor code. I said, but I didn't think that was the problem. So, you know, we used a scanner. I said, what I had to do is use the graphing scanner. I looked at the front O2 sensor and the rear O2 sensor, and I was getting the same data. I said, so what does that tell you? And they're like, huh? I said, you overlay the scans over each other, and they're exactly the same. That means what's coming into that cat is going out of the cat. You know, it was.
Yep, that's exactly right. You know, and that's the thing. Is, a lot of times, a car will come in on a wrecker, and the first thing, it's a no-start diagnosis, and the first thing my mechanics do is they grab the scanner. And I'm like, what's the scanner going to do? They go, I'm going to go see what's wrong with the car. I'm like, yeah, but the scanner is not going to fix the car, nor is it going to crank the car. The scanner is just going to connect to the car. You have to fix the car. So the first thing I tell them to do is, if you're going to go up to a car that's been on a wrecker, take the jump box, the key to the car, the jump box, and a can of brake cleaner. Sam Mahdavi and I say it all the time. The first thing to a no-start situation is you go up to the car with a can of brake cleaner, starter fluid, something, ether, introduce it to the intake manifold and fire the car up. If the car runs, then you know that you have a fuel problem and everything on the ignition side is good. Now you've taken your diagnostics to 50%, and you can start to look at the fuel, look at the crank position sensor, look at cam sensor, look and see why you're not getting fuel. And the scanner is not going to do that for you, and that's just wasted time. And that's what I'm trying to teach the younger guys is a lot of them don't know how to work on a 95 and older car, because they can't talk to the car. Well, the car is talking to them. You got to listen to the car. You got to watch the car's engine, see what it's doing, and then you can diagnose the car with simple tools that we used to have, like thermometers, to see which cylinder is misfiring. If you can't read it on the manifold, pull a spark plug one by one, disconnect the coil one by one. You can always find a misfire that way.
You got to. We used to wet our fingers and touch the header tubes. when you
I've
didn't
done
get,
that.
when you
Yeah,
didn't
more
get
guts
burned,
than
that
I
was the
did.
one that wasn't fired.
Well, and you know what it is? You know what it is? You said it though. The car is talking to them. It's just
Yeah.
speaking a different language.
Exactly right.
That's what it is. I mean, literally, it's speaking a different language.
You're right.
That's all there is to it. And see, guys, that's why I would rather make sparks.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That is so true, man.
I will weld.
But diagnostics is such a fun part of cars. When you can look at a car and see what's wrong with it, hear what's wrong with it, and talk to someone in a circle. Like every morning on Saturday mornings for 3 hours live, we diagnose and help people with their cars that may not have the tools or the availability of a local shop, a dealership somewhere in the farmlands up in the north part of the country.
Yeah.
They don't have the luxury of an automotive shop or even the skills of a dealership close by. It's 50 to 100 miles away. Yeah. So they call us, and we basically direct them in the direction they need to go to try to troubleshoot that problem. And they do it, they fix it, then they call us back and say thank you. And that is so valuable to me because it makes me know that I was correct, and then I've taught them, and then they teach us. It's so cool because we think we know everything. I'm learning new things every day. Here I am 20 years, lots of cars later, and the old saying, never say never, is the truest saying, because every day things occurs like, man, I can't believe that just happened. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
And so, those are things you can't replicate in the classroom, nor sometimes remember to tell the students.
Now, where do you go for backup? Do you use a site like IATN, something like that,
for backup?
Well, like if you have a question, if you run into something that you haven't seen before, like what database do you like to use?
Me and Sam knocking off each other's heads.
Okay, well, that's good. Yeah.
I'm fortunately, and I'm not complaining about this. I'm the shop that's the last shop in town where people can't fix something and they come across something that's troubling that they just can't fix. Even the dealerships will bring the car here, we figure it out and we fix it. And we use the tools like we have Identifix, we have All Data, and then we have the internet. Now the internet you got to take by a grain of salt. You know, it's a good tool to give you a direction, like the scanner. Scanner's going to give you a direction, but you still got to verify these things. You don't know who the person is on the other side of that keyboard to give him credibility. So you got to double check everything. And we end up finding things that are new, and we put it in our memory bank, and that's what makes it so fun, is fixing cars.
Yeah, that's why I like IATN, because it's a community of professionals. And
that's what Identifix is.
Right, who are in the business. So, you can get some real time, and it's in a forum form, so you can go back and search it. It's a searchable database.
Exactly. This is what Identifix is, the same thing. It's for professionals. You have to have a membership, and it's us mechanics going on there and giving basically a forum of what we found was wrong, and then what steps we took to diagnose it, and what the ultimate fix was. And then that goes into a bank where it becomes a volumetric thing. So you got like 10 items was O2 sensor, 1 item was the connector, 1 item was ground. So it gives the people a direction to start really looking towards, Yeah. It helps us out.
That's cool. That's really cool.
But luckily, I have Sam Mahdavi, who's been on TV for a long time. He's the guy who handed me the torch for Sam's Garage Television. Very knowledgeable person. And he knows all the old school stuff and all the technical stuff. And we bounce off each other's heads. And I know all the new school stuff. And so together, there really isn't anything we can't diagnose, which is very fortunate for me to have him on my side.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. That's that's like me and
Sam's
Jared. I know all the old stuff. He knows the new stuff.
Yeah.
He really, and it's amazing how much of a difference that makes.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know. I suck at electrical, and everything's electrical now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I mean,
it's
I don't mind
electrical.
doing the heavy lifting. I'd rather do the heavy lifting.
That's where batteries come into play, man. Battery used to last a certain amount of time in every car unless you had an aftermarket stereo system. Well, now batteries are similar to brake pads and clutch discs, where it's a wearable item depending on the vehicle's owner and how they use their power. If they're connected to their car, sitting in car line for a long period of time, that battery is going to take a huge hit. And so there are different amounts of electronics in different cars, and they're being used differently by those owners. And so the batteries last different. You
And they
can't really
fail differently too.
Yeah, you cannot put a shelf life on a battery anymore. And that's why the warranty and the pro rating of batteries have changed significantly in the last decade.
I
You know,
didn't know that.
My daughter,
I never even thought of that.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
yesterday, my daughter says to me, "Hey, Dad, if I go down to the beach and park the car, how long can I sit there and play my music and all before I'm glad she asked. And I said,
Yes.
"Well, how long do you think it'll sit?" In 5 minutes. She goes, "Oh, maybe a couple hours." I'm like, well, okay. I said, "You're not using a heavy lift, you're using a phone." I said, "After about 45 minutes, so start the car. Just start it and let it run." I said, "Because you're running off the battery, and you want to rejuvenate it." Then we got into an explanation about how the alternator works and why the alternator works.
Hey, well, it's good that she
Well,
was
good.
in
Yeah,
learning it.
she's a smart
Yeah.
kid. Only she'll sit and entertain. She probably calls me
Right.
an idiot behind my back, but my dad doesn't shut up about these freaking cars. But at least she listens when I talk to her, so that's good. She shows us a little respect.
Wait a minute now. Did she call you and say the battery was dead in the car when she
No,
went?
no.
That she
didn't.
listened.
didn't.
That
I'm
she
glad she
I
had-
mean, really, that she listened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad she at least had the wherewithal to ask the question. Because,
Right.
I tell you
Well,
what,
one of the biggest misunderstandings is the alternator and the battery light on the dashboard. I can't
Oh, yeah.
tell you how many people spend their money wastefully on a battery, and they go to the local AutoZone or whatever, and the dude's like, "Yeah, battery light's on. It's got to be the battery." It's never the battery. They should change that light bulb to an alternator or a generator,
right.
because
Yeah.
that's what it is every single time. It's the
Mhm.
alternator. Now, whether
Yeah.
the battery is weak or not has nothing to do with the alternator. It may be time to do both in certain situations, but that's the one thing that we need to school everybody on. When your battery light comes on, it's the charging system, not the battery. Save your money, save your time, save your heartache, and go get it diagnosed for the charging system.
hmm
It's an epidemic out there, guys. I'm telling you, so many people. I probably 1/3 of the people out there with the battery light on spend their money wastefully on a battery.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you go back to the old days. It was always you need a battery and you need an alternator too. And your starters guys would upsell like
I know. That's the
poor people would just get raked over the coals.
and that's one
Yeah.
thing that we're known for here is we do not upsell. We fix what you need. That's that. Preventive maintenance is one thing. If the belt is cracking, you should replace it before it breaks. But you don't need this, that, and the other to be back on the road.
Man, I don't replace it till it breaks.
Here you go. Lou, sometimes it may not break. You get lucky.
Exactly.
Save some
When
money.
you're 500 miles away from home.
Yeah.
And you know what? I still don't. I replace it when it breaks. I'm telling you.
Yeah, me too. I'm the
I
same
tell you,
way. Especially
Rick-
us. We're mechanics. So we just
Yeah.
call our friends, get the car
Right.
back to the shop and fix it.
I don't even do that half the time. I
I'm
just
driving
fix
a
it where
car
it's
right
at.
now. I'm driving a car right now that needs a strut, needs an axle, and an exhaust work. It's like I don't have time to do it.
Yeah,
so I
you
just
really-
You must have
driving
hit a pothole.
it. Well, I live
If it
in New
needs
York.
one strut and an axle, that's a pothole.
Well, it's a boot. The inner CV boot ripped, so I'm going to just change the axle.
Al
It's a-
said carry an extra pantyhose.
I've done that. I did that with an Audi 5000 I had. I got stuck in the Bronx on the Cross Bronx Expressway.
Oh
I had to go up,
man, Audi
and I actually
5000.
pulled over to a bodega
That's
and
Notorious name, right?
I bought a pair of legs pantyhose and wrapped it around the alternator. And it got me to my buddy's house in Riverdale, and then waited. He's an Audi mechanic. I waited till he came home. I called him. I said, I can't get the alternator loose. He goes, yeah, you know what? The lower bolts always froze on those. This is going back. I mean, I'm talking about this was in the 80s. He goes,
Yeah.
I'll bring the kit that we have. I guess it was a recall, and everything you need. So I had to wait in the Bronx, for about 3-4 hours, and then we fixed it, and off we went on our vacation upstate. But yeah,
I used duct tape before. I use duct tape. Yeah, you pull out like 3 foot of duct tape and just spin it so it becomes a rope.
Right,
And
right.
do another stretch, spin it, and then you wrap it around twice so it's thicker. Yeah, and then take duct tape and wrap the ends. Go about a foot on each side. Boom, tighten it, drive it home.
On MythBusters, they made a bridge out of duct tape. They
Dude,
literally made a suspension bridge out of duct tape. And
I
it worked.
believe it.
Yeah.
Now that you brought up Audi 5000, I said that in front of some young kids about 2 weeks ago. I was like, I'm Audi 5000. They looked at me like, what are you talking about? I was like, hey, you got to go back and listen to the rap music.
Oh, absolutely, dude. What's funny is I got a good JB Weld story, okay? We were up in New Hampshire racing in the RA series, and I had a Dodge Dually four-wheel drive with a 44-foot gooseneck behind me. And in front of me, there must have been a trash can, a 55-gallon trash can. This is on a Sunday afternoon. We got off the racetrack. We're all going home. I put this thing, it's a 6-speed, so I put it in low. I put it in first gear, not second. Ooh. And when you remove the clutch on a 5.9 6-speed, nothing stops it. So I'm going forward, and I feel something. I'm like, boom, boom, boom. I'm like, oh, my God, what's that? So then I back it up, and I felt it again. I come outside. My radiator's busted. We went over the trash can, and then when we backed up, we bent everything, and we broke the end tanks of the radiator.
Yeah.
And we are in New Hampshire with a radiator that even the dealership doesn't have on a Sunday afternoon, way away from home. So we took the front end apart, we used our tools, got the radiator out on the floor, bent it, stood on it, bent it back to where it was flat, to where the end tanks would go back onto the metal again. Sanded it really well, because it's always only as good as your prep, okay?
Yeah.
Sanded it really, really well. Put the JB Weld on there, sat there for about an hour, got in the truck, and we were stuck on the perimeter in Connecticut somewhere, watching the movie 300. We went a mile and a half in 3 hours. Me and my guy sweating, man. Wow. JB Weld got us all the way home.
Nice.
All the way home. So,
dude, we were at the Petro in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, right? My friend Jim, and we met this other guy, Steve, who's a commander in the Navy. We met him at the Carlisle GM show, right? The inlet on Jim's turbo on his Kenworth broke.
Oh no!
And it's an elbow in it. You can take it off the turbo, right? So we find an inlet. It's Saturday. We find an inlet. We got that. So we take it apart, and what was happening is when it was under boost, you could hear it whistle because the inlet would expand, and then when it would close, you couldn't find a crack again. So only under boost it would whistle, so it had no power. So we figure out what it is. We take it apart, and then when we're taking it apart, it cracked, and then we had pieces go in the turbo.
Oh no!
On the inlet side, right?
Oh no!
So we're sitting there, and there's a guy in the truck sitting next, talking to us right next to an older guy. And I go to Jim. I'm like, "You got grease?" And he's like, "Yeah." So I get grease, wrap a rag around a screwdriver, put grease on the rag, and fish it down in the turbo. And I'm just basically wiping up everything, just getting all the shavings of aluminum out of it.
That is so good. That's a good one, though, dude. People don't know grease is your friend.
There's another one. If you ever get a gas tank, get bubble gum. Bazooka Joe, chew the hell out of it, stick it on there. That the sugar in the gum reacts with the gas, and it'll actually form like an epoxy. And
no way!
That is good to know.
I did
that when I was in high school.
Did it on a Ford wagon, and he said it was one of those repairs that was on for so long he forgot about it. It was like years later.
But you know what though, Ray? I bet you it's got to be gum with real sugar.
Yeah,
well, like a lot of the new stuff now, I bet you couldn't, because it's got so many of these weird sweeteners.
Yeah.
So what you have to do, what you got to do, is go to a Pilot or Flying J, and they have a section of the candy aisle that's all the old school candy.
Okay.
They have old school gumdrops.
Oh wow!
Oh, like the big ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where you need to go. So you
they're
need to keep some of them in the car.
Really hard like rocks.
Yep. You got to keep some of them in the car. They come in a 5-pack.
Another thing, Lou, you can use grease for is when you're using a socket and you don't have a magnetic socket, and you got to use the bolt, go down somewhere, put the grease on the head of the bolt or in the socket. Boom.
Yep. Done that one too. Yeah.
That's the stuff they don't teach you in school. You got to talk to a guy who's done it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, I've done it with a drill bit.
Go ahead, Lou.
Yeah.
I've done it with a drill bit. So when I drill in the metal, it'll catch the shavings.
There you go.
Yeah,
or on a tap.
I was chasing the threads in a head on this motorhome builder for my guy I work for in Chevelle, and I did the same thing. I put grease on the tap and ran it through just to catch anything. I wasn't tapping the holes fresh. I was chasing them, but just in case there were any shavings, and then clean it between each application.
Yep. Yeah. It catches it. All the debris is right there. Absolutely. And you're right. Those are things they need to teach in school as little tips.
Yeah.
but
Right.
it's not in the criteria. They don't have the time to do it. But those are
Yeah.
the helpful things that helps these students in the actual field. So that's
Right.
what we try
Yeah.
to do.
Believe it or not, you know where you can always find some pretty good tips in the back of Street Rodder magazine.
Really?
Oh,
Yes.
cool. Okay.
In
was
the
a good
back of
magazine,
Street
yeah.
Rodder magazine,
I didn't
they
know
always,
that.
you know what? You guys talk. I'm gonna go get this latest issue.
Okay.
Okay, Sam, I got a question for you.
Sure.
I noticed a banner in the background that
Mhm.
Boss Hog.
Yeah.
Yep.
He didn't
Nelson
pay
Gill.
He didn't pay for advertising on the show, so we got to bump him off.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, no.
How about that?
Oh, yeah, he's just standing in front of it.
There you go.
There we go. There we go.
All right, there we go.
No,
He's
I
in the
just
chat
added
room,
that.
so we got to rock
Yeah,
him a
he
little
is.
bit.
He's. I added that this week or last week. I think it was late last week. He was nice enough, Nelson, to give me that banner. He's been really nice. He's provided me with the torque converter for our Project C10 that we've been doing on the show.
Nice.
And he's just a very nice, knowledgeable person with lots of
Oh, yeah.
tips. He's just like one of us, where he's in the business. He's done well for himself, and he wants to share that knowledge with everybody else. And that's quality people, you know?
Yep, Nelson is a good dude. He's in the chat room.
Yes, sir.
Who's in the chat room?
Nelson. We
Oh,
were
yeah.
saying that he didn't pay for that banner in the background there for
I'll
playing
send him a bill. I'll send him a $10 bill or something.
Yeah, see, they call it fixums now.
You know what's funny is every time these guys come from the schools and they come to my store to work, I always tell them, everything you've learned in school and everything you've learned in another store, you got to forget about it, because we're going to teach you the way it is here. You know, like the real way.
You're teaching real life.
Yeah, exactly right.
You're
teaching
real life. That's what you're
and you're doing them a justice, dude. And you know, the number one thing is whenever the car comes in towed in and they grab the scanner to walk out there to the car, I stop them every time. Put the scanner away. Walk out there with something that's, you know, like for instance, I tell people, "Hey Sam, do you have to use a scanner to bleed your brakes?" I'm like, "Well, okay. If you were in the middle of the desert and you had to do a brake job, do you think that manufacturer would allow you to not be able to bleed your brakes?" Every car's brake system is bleedable to a point.
Yeah.
Only when you have an issue or a problem or trapped air or something in the system isn't working correctly do you have to pull up the scanner and open up a solenoid or something. You know what I mean? But for the most part, manufacturers make it to where you can do basic stuff on your car in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, to a certain extent, they have to.
Yes, they have to.
Because, you know, I know at one time, and I have it in one of my transmission books, the U.S. government mandated that the transmission fluids had to be compatible for that reason. You're in the middle of nowhere and you can't get the specific transmission fluid that you're supposed to run. They were like, that's unacceptable. You know, they basically made everyone's. It's got to be. You know, you got to be able to put it in there and get to wherever you got to go, and then change it out.
That's how many fluids we have now in the market. There's like 17 of them, I think.
Right. It's ridiculous because they got away from a lot of their core values and they let these engineers run wild is what's happened.
Antifreeze too. And oil.
Antifreeze too. Yeah. Same
all
thing.
Of it's chaotic out there.
Yeah.
Back in the day, we used to have Mobil 1, Pennzoil, and that's it. Everyone's chasing Mobil 1, and they've been chasing them forever. And at the end of the day, it all boils down to you neglecting your oil change. If you do a conventional oil change at 3,000 miles, that oil is going to do its job and protect your engine. If you neglect it and you go over 3,000, then the oil and the protective additives start to break down. That's when the oil becomes bad. Same thing with synthetic. It just gives you a longer life and a little bit more ability to take the heat. So in my race car, run 1,200 horsepower, and I would run conventional Napa 2050 oil. I would beat up that oil because I wanted the thickest oil I can get between the bearings and the journals. And so I would beat up that oil every event and drain it out and throw it away and not care about how much it costs. It costs $2 a quart. Everybody else is putting this expensive oil in the car and you're not doing anything but spending extra money, you know?
Right.
Street cars, these new variable valve timing cars, people who neglect oil changes, who may go 10, 15,000 miles, that's when the really expensive oils come into play, but they even break down and cause issues.
Yeah, those passages are very small in that the VVT engines.
And they run very hot, which causes them to burn. And they're running thinner oil, more heat, smaller passages, which creates varnish.
Problems.
Yeah, it creates problems.
Period.
Yeah.
So look, here's the thing. Fix'ems.
Fix'ems.
In the back of
Wow.
Street Rodder magazine.
Great. Yeah.
And-
Look
and
at that.
every
Nice.
month, they're different ones. Every one of these is different.
Wow.
These are the
What-
last
what is-
3 months.
What are some of the topics there, Lou?
Okay, parking and taillight tester, part 1. The tester is made up of a wooden dowel sanded to fit the socket and an 8B steel finishing nail. Wire solderless terminal to a spring cup a spring cup and auto horn mounted to the wood block, a piece of angle iron. Drill the dowel off center to align one light pin at a time, allowing the parking and directional circuits to be checked separately. So basically, put a nail off to the side so you can touch one of the terminals, and then when you want to touch the other side, you flip it over so you can get the other side.
Right.
And slip the dowel and connect the horn so you have a signal. Connect the horn with the wire and solderless terminals, and the second wire to the spring clip to connect the horn to ground. So you've made a light tester out of a piece of wood and some stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Dude, it's just neat stuff.
That's
It's neat
great.
stuff. There are
That is
helpful tips that makes the flat rate mechanic that much more efficient and powerful.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So-
Restoring a pair of vice grips that have been used forever, where the teeth are gone. Restoring them. They got another one. This one's for touching up your sliders on your old heater controls. You got squeaky wipers. How do you fix some squeaky wipers?
Or squeaky speedometer cables. We've
Oh,
had
yeah.
to replace two this week.
that was one of them before. I've seen that one.
Back up
a
a second. Have you
A
guys
sanding drum. Making a sanding drum out of a wooden dowel. How to fix damaged threads. And literally, it's damaged threads with a bolt and wire.
Wow.
Have you guys had to use any of those new Chinesium vice grips? The ones that are they say vice grip up. They're made in China, and they suck. Wait
Wait a minute. Which ones? Because I found some in Harbor Freight that are really good.
Okay, now I grabbed the pen the other day at the shop, and I don't know where they came from, and they just didn't. I had to go and walk across the shop to get the real vice grips because
one thing that's changed, you guys. If you remember us growing up, working on cars, working in someone's shop, you would never touch another person's toolbox.
Yeah,
right.
You had to have your own tools, depending on how big your toolbox meant how good of a technician you were in some cases. Some people just went and bought a bunch of stuff so they could look good. But today, no one's buying tools. So they're using the shop tools. I have two shop boxes. Okay. Yeah. And what's happening is all my tools from Snap-on and Matco and all the good old-fashioned American-made tools that I've had in my box for 20 years that I spent a lot of money on. Yeah, man, they're being used up and abused and wore out and lost. And so I have to replace them with these new Chinesium ones, and it's making me so angry.
Dude,
and
they got to buy their own tools. If they're gonna come in and work, they gotta buy tools.
Lou, it's impossible, man. They're getting there because you just have to beat it into them. But they don't understand it's part of their job.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I know their argument is tools are expensive, and I understand that. But there's places that they can go to get inexpensive tools that are still warranted. Northern Tool. Yep. Their brand is guaranteed for life. All right. There's also, you can go to tell them to go online and go to strictlytoolboxes.com.
Okay.
They've probably got 10, 15 different size toolboxes. They sell a 72-inch bottom box, 30-inch deep drawers. I think it's $3,200 shipped.
Wow.
Yeah.
That same one on the Snap-on truck would be over 10 grand.
And I've seen the box. I've laid hands on the box. I've stood in the bottom drawer.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm serious. And for the money, you can't beat it. You can't beat it for the money.
If you could stand on the drawer and sit on that drawer and that drawer still move with you on it and still function afterwards, then that's a good box.
They do a 56-inch box, a 72-inch box. They even do a top box for the 72. I think they do a 65.
Wow.
And the prices, hold on, I'll tell you the prices.
Is that the company that we talked to?
Well, even Northern Tools. Northern Tools has some serious boxes for
Well,
Great pricing.
Yeah.
well,
Louis, do you want to bring Tori in
they
before
sold
we
Homac.
run
They
out of
stopped
time?
selling Homac
Okay.
boxes.
All right, Sam, I'm going to jump out so Tori can come in. I'll be in touch with you. I'll send you an email and we'll set something
Okay.
up for getting you on the show.
No problem, man. It was really
Yeah,
good
like-
talking to you.
It's a pleasure. Yeah, and we'll
Thank
talk
you.
soon.
All right.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Rick.
See you guys later.
See you, Rick.
Later, Ray. Okay, so here's a 56-inch 11 drawer toolbox, right? $975.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is
And
a
this is
great
what-
deal.
84-inch 23 drawer XL roller cabinet, which is God damn it just took off. $5,355.
Wow.
And then they have here's a 62-inch 22 drawer roller cabinet with top chest, with a top box, and the top box is loaded with drawers. $1985.
And they deliver it to you. That's
And it's delivered. This box I'm looking at, its overall dimensions is 62 3/4 wide, 20 inches deep, 62 and a half inches high, right? It's 625 pounds, 5-year limited warranty, drawer capacity 100 to 200 pounds, depending on which drawer it is.
right.
And you can get it in black, blue, or lime green. Delivery is free. If you need a lift gate, it's $30 more.
Wow. $30.
$1,985.
See,
What
that's a
company
deal.
is that?
It's strictlytoolboxes.com.
What's up, Tori?
That's what it is. And if you go on their site, they got, I mean, dude, these prices are out of control. 1985, 2345, 3009, 2915, 3997. All those the prices I just gave you were the sizes were 62, 72, 72. Now 172 is 25 inches wide, the other one's 30 inches wide. Then they have a 62-inch 22 drawer with side cabinets, a top box, and 2 side cabinets for $29.
Wow.
Dude, you can't beat that, man.
No, you can't. You
You
can't.
can't. I mean, and see, they got smaller boxes. They have a 41-inch. They have a 41 inch. It's called the Deluxe Portable Workstation, and it's $2,500. But you know, it's still a decent box.
Now, what
They
kind
have-
of warranty do they have on those boxes?
Hold on. I'll pull up the 41-inch. It's called
I
the
was gonna
Extreme.
ask the same
Okay.
thing.
The Extreme. It's called the Extreme Tools is the name of the box. That's what's on it. 41-inch deluxe portable workstation set. Okay. Dimensions: 41 5/8 wide, 24 inches deep, 63 and a half high. The shipping weight is 610 pounds. Warranty: 5-year limited warranty.
Wow, that's really
Pretty
good.
good.
That's really good. I got
Yeah.
a box called, it's from Genius. Okay. They were at SEMA in 2017. I was walking by and they had the drawers open, and in the drawers, everything was partitioned and all the tools were in their spots. The
Yeah.
whole drawer is
Yeah.
partitioned.
Like in
They
the
have-
aircraft industry.
Yeah, Lou,
Yeah.
every single size tool, thing, hammer you could ever think of is in that box. With the box and all the tools, lifetime warranty, Korean made, $7,000.
So you can't beat that.
Lifetime warranty is worth
Lifetime warranty, Tori. You cannot beat the
you
Korean
can't
made.
beat that.
So it's a little bit better than Northern China, but it'll last a little bit longer.
it. Just stand behind
Chinesium.
yourself.
I like
Northern
Chinesium.
Tools,
I like
yeah, Northern
Chinesium.
Tools is Northern China and then Harbor Freight Southern China. But you can find some good stuff in Harbor Freight.
Yeah.
But
That
see,
you
but
can.
see, the thing is, you know, at this point, honestly, Sam, when you stop and think about it, dude, you could get your guys in toolboxes, the smaller toolboxes,
Yep.
and they can start buying tools. They don't have to burn through your stuff.
And they don't
Because
have to buy the expensive stuff until they
Right.
get better
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
make more money, you know?
Exactly.
But Lou, the problem is that these guys are making the kind of money that we used to make, or actually more, and we would have to buy these tools because you
Right.
couldn't borrow people's tools. So
Right.
these guys are getting they're putting double the money in their pockets at the end of the day when
I
they should
know.
have some skin in the game. I'm trying to teach them you're only as good as the tools in your box. You should
Well-
not rely on the shop box.
What you should
Right.
do is you just mandate that they're gonna buy tools.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to.
And
You
then
have
what's
to.
happened also is they got our hands tied, because at the end of the day, I've been looking for a full-time mechanic for 3 months now. Okay, 3 months, and just like you said, they don't want to get their hands dirty. Well, there are specialty mechanics out there. Let's say a person who's set on BMWs. Well, if you work on enough BMWs, you can blindfold yourself and
Right.
work on that BMW.
Right.
But if a 1995 Ford Ranger comes in for a head
You're
job,
lost.
you're lost and you don't want to do it because it's dirty and all this stuff. That's the problem I'm running across. These people want money, but they don't want to work on everything that they want the money for. So
Right,
you're
right,
stuck
right,
between
right.
a rock and a hard place. You know, it's
But
tough.
the thing is though, I mean, the way I see it is, you got to explain to them, look, do you want to be a better mechanic, or do you just want to, stay blindfolded? Do you want?
Exactly
basically,
right.
do you want to expand your horizons, or do you just want to stay in the path you're in? If you want to stay in the path you're in, then you don't need to be here. If
Exactly
you
right.
want, because I'm telling you, when you work on everything, you're a better mechanic. You said it earlier, and I agree with you 100%.
Thank you.
Because
Absolutely.
you learn the way different things work.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's
And
just
they
that
do
simple.
work differently. They work
They do.
differently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like for instance, a speed density setup compared to a mass airflow setup. Speed density was used with Mopar, Dodge, Chrysler, all the way up until the Hellcat came out. They put a mass airflow sensor on the Hellcat just so they can measure air better, because they're giving 700 horsepower. They want to make sure that horsepower lives. So they put a
Right.
mass airflow sensor in there. Before that, they were all speed density. So that computer works totally different. The O2 sensors work different. The signal that you get from the TPS and the idle air control valve work a little bit different too, where their symptoms when they fail are different than a mass airflow system. And Honda went from speed density to mass airflow in the late 2008, 2010 era. They were speed density, but everybody else was mass airflow. And so you had to know the difference to work on Honda and Mopar compared to everything else. And, that's where diversity comes in.
Right.
Well, right here, my friend Jim, he just made a comment. Look at all the stuff we worked on in the Navy, because we were both CB mechanics.
Mhm.
We look at all the stuff we worked on: dozers, cranes, boats, cars, trucks. We worked on everything because we had to.
Yes, yes. But the
you
pride you get, the sense of pride you would get from going up to something that you weren't familiar with and then fixing it. Like, that's why I do what I do. It's so cool to troubleshoot something, fix it, and get that pride that you just fixed it. You don't have to call anybody, you have to spend any money, and you know something now. And that's what it's about. And that's happening again. They're getting interested again.
But even you get that, but you got to understand something. It's that sense of accomplishment that comes with that pride.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because now all of a sudden you can fix that BMW that guy only wants to work on. You can fix that Honda. You can fix whatever you come across, because your base is so much wider. Your knowledge base is so much wider. When I went back to school, they said I had to take a critical thinking class. To me, that's just the dumbest thing. We do critical thinking every day.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
When you have to sit down and figure out what's wrong with this car, and it goes back to speaking the language, you got to figure out what language it's speaking in first. Then you go to fix it. And then if it's a car that you're not used to working on, you got to figure everything else about that car to fix it. It's your knowledge base is phenomenal.
As blue collar mechanics, we don't get the respect that we're due.
No.
They think that we're just, grease monkeys working on wrenches and bolts and stuff like that. But we're doctors who are talking to our patients with no language. When you're a doctor, you're a patient, you go into the doctor, hey, this hurts, this feels like this. And the doctor's like, cool, this is what it is. But a car comes in, you're relying on that scanner. If it's older than 95, you're relying on just sounds and stuff, vibrations. So we're sitting here diagnosing patients that don't talk to us. So we need to get more credit, and we are getting more credit because people are realizing that without mechanics, there are no fire trucks, there are no airplanes, there are no emergency vehicles, policemen. None of those things could exist without us.
Right.
So that's where we need to get a little bit more respect. And I think that respect will bring more kids back into blue collar. And then what we have to do is pound pride in these folks. The biggest thing that has been lost is pride. And when you lose pride, man, your reputation goes down. You don't care about anything. Everything is 75% versus 100, and that just it'll reflect in time. It reflects you.
Yeah. Well, man, I had last summer. I had one of my S10s, a '96 S10. I let the school do the AC in it, and not even a month later, the AC fails.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, fails. So some of my friends came down from upstate New York, and they fixed it while I was doing something else. There was more trash in the system. They clearly didn't clean it out. But when I drove it home that night from the school, the passenger side front wheel wasn't tight.
Wow.
Because they couldn't get the evaporator core out. They couldn't get the evaporator core out. So I told them, I said, look, sometimes this happens. Take the fender off. Take the fender off. You can get to the bottom bolts. You have access to everything. So they took it off. They took off the front wheel. The front wheel almost fell off. When I turned on my street, I heard it clunking. That's how I knew it was loose. Because that was like the second turn I made the whole time I had it. I had to replace everything in the AC system because it was so much metal in there because of the failure. Because they didn't clean it. Had to replace everything. And my thing is, and I even talked to the teacher, my thing is how is it you let that get out? Where were you?
That's it.
You know what I mean? If you're the teacher, how come you let that get out?
Yes. Someone capable and competent has to put their finger on that car and put a period on every car that leaves. And what the teacher should have taught them was when the compressor fails internally, there is so much trash that gets in the evaporator and the condenser that in some cases you can't clean it all out. And being a GM,
but Sam, here's the crazy thing. I knew it was a catastrophic failure. I bought all new parts.
There you go. You're supposed to replace all those parts.
They replaced all the parts, but because they didn't do the job right. And also, the first time I drove it down to Tampa, the AC bracket broke because they didn't tighten the bolts up on the AC compressor. So the bracket broke, and it's a serpentine setup. And on the 2.2, it's the big bracket that holds the alternator. The power holds. So I had to get an AC. I had to get a bracket.
Man.
I had to fix all of that.
See, Lou, that's why I think these schools need folks like us who are straight up
car people
from the field, car people who will go in there and teach them reality. Like the biggest thing that I deal with is half the people are too afraid to make things tight, and the other half make them too tight. And that's the one thing we fight all the time. Oil pan bolts, don't make them too tight. That was 40 years ago when everything was kind of junky, and you had cork gaskets with stamped steel, thin flanged oil pans and valve covers, to where you had to make sure to be diligent and not crush those items by becoming too tight. Well, 20 years ago, those things have changed. Things have changed. So you have to make bolts tight, make them snug. Spark plugs. You got to make them snug. There's been such a fear.
You got to put anti-seize on them.
Yeah, you got to put anti-seize. If you have a washer on a spark plug, you got to crush that washer first, then tighten it. If you don't have a washer, then you got to tighten. You got to be diligent and pay attention to torquing and fasteners, and that's why wheels fall off, man. A lot of people don't want to tighten the wheel use a gun. If you use your gun enough, and you just like NASCAR, they don't use a torque wrench because they've got their gun set up to where they know what the torque is. They put it on that setting and they tighten those bolts. Torque wrenches are for building engines. They're for head bolts. They're for main studs on crankshafts and stuff like that. Valve cover bolts, timing cover bolts. All those bolts are too small of hardware to use big torque wrenches. You have to use an inch-pound torque wrench, and then that becomes somewhat, not really calibrated right. That's where you use your wrist power. But
I call it the calibrated elbow.
There you go, calibrated elbow. You're right. You said it on your show last week. So, and I loved it, calibrated elbow. And I love the fact that you did it on air, because a lot of people are so scared to do a flex plate like you did. Now you torque down the flywheel bolts, which is correct, but the flex plate bolts, the pressure plate bolts, they can be calibrated elbow all day long, especially when you've done it as many times as we have.
Right.
So that's the confidence that we have to pound in these new technicians, and the pride that it takes to be a good technician.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's crazy because I'll get a lot of weird stuff at the school. Like I had one time, it was I think it was last summer. I had 2 of the students came over, like, can you look at this? We're stuck. And what happened was the lug nut, it broke right across here.
Wow.
It just broke. It was just a freak break. And they're all looking, the whole class is like, okay, what do we do? I walked over to drill it out. And they looked at me like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, you got it. The studs broke.
Right.
You can't weld the nut on there because the barrel of the wheel is too deep, so you can't get anything there to weld it. Drill it out. Get as close to the center as you can. Drill it out with like a 1/4 inch, and then go progressively up to a half inch drill bit. It's a 12 millimeter stud. You'll be just a tick over. Then what's left of the lug will come out, and who cares about the stud because you're going to replace it anyway. Take off the rest of the wheels and put in a new stud. They looked at me like they were like. It was like, how did you know that? I'm like, it's common sense.
Yes. It just takes a lot of work that they don't want to
exactly. They weren't afraid, but they were confused because that was the furthest thing from their mind, because they don't have that ability
confidence.
Well, it's confidence, but but part of that is they don't have they don't have, what the hell's the term I'm looking for?
That common knowledge.
Yeah, they don't have the common knowledge to look at it and go, okay, how do I get there?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They don't, and I know that comes with confidence. You the more you get that knowledge, the more confident you become. But my philosophy is you got to be too dumb to be scared.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not going to get that confidence unless you make those mistakes.
Yes, that is
true. You're not going to get it. So you got to be too dumb to be scared. You got to be willing to go, okay, I'm going to take the jump.
Yep. And it's only a mistake if you make it twice. And that's true in this automotive world as well. Right. It's only a mistake if you make it twice. You got to learn from things. And that's the only way to learn, is to come across them and then go and then work your way through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, what's experience? Where does it come from?
The experience, exactly. You know what, Lou,
it comes from making mistakes.
You and I were fortunate enough to where I'm 44 and I was able to grow up in a shop to where there were old school techs there, older, who came from a rougher time of being a mechanic, where things weren't so fragile and timid, and you didn't have to be so careful. And so we learned how to use hammers and pick forks and be a real torches and cutting wheels and drills and cutting metal out and welding things. Whereas it's become a very softened sport today.
Yeah.
And you cannot teach a technician to be soft in this game. Things haven't changed really. The only thing that's changed is variable valve timing has come in. They've put a bunch more plastic under the engine, but everything else is the same. Yeah. So, you got to teach it old school so they learn old school, because that's where the real knowledge is.
Oh, yeah. They took away the helmet-to-helmet hit.
Yes. It's the best way to put it.
That's what they took away. They took it away from us.
Well, I'm doing it every day over here in my shop, Lou. They're not going to tell me not to beat them up.
Oh, man, I'm ruthless on them. I'm so ruthless.
Yeah.
The other day I was doing the trash, right? And the class I'm in, it's a big body shop, because the restoration class is in with the auto body class. And I'm doing the trash, and I got 2 cans full of trash, and I always consolidate them when I can, right? And there's another class in there, and one of the kids he's just spinning the garbage can around because it's on wheels. I go, dude, what the fuck you doing? And he looks at me. I go, you gonna take out that garbage? Or you're just gonna stand there and finger fuck it all day? And he just looks at me. He goes, I'm not gonna take it out. So we ain't gonna finger fuck it. Get the hell out of here and go to work. And he went to work. And I tell them kids flat, look, I am gonna talk to you the way they talk to you in the shop. I ain't sugarcoating it. If you're fucking up, you're fucking up. And some kids get upset. I'm like, look, I don't care. I'll go home.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be nice to you, but I'm gonna be firm, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it.
There are too many things in that shop that can cut your arms off, legs off, that can kill you. And so you have to be serious when it comes out to the shop. It's not a playground. The thing is, like something like here where you're working on 30% performance stuff and you're working on 70%, regular repairs. They want to be part of the 30% cool stuff, and they don't understand that the good stuff comes with the bad stuff. You cannot just do the performance stuff. You have to learn the regular repairs as well, and that requires paying attention, diligence, safety, and hard knocks, man. How else are you going to learn? You know, I'm not going to, you know, I've been told that I'm a jerk and I'm this and that. Well, you guys are messing up. So I'm looking out for you and your safety. I'm looking out for my own insurance and the client, because the client drives in that car with their families. And when you do something as simple as brakes, like your wheel falling off, you know, only 5% of the time, maybe that wheel falling off could be detrimental. Most times they just fall off, everything's cool. But there is a possibility that person can get into a wreck and something bad could, a chain reaction. You have to think about things like that. So you got to be tough.
Yep. That's called accountability.
Yep.
Exactly right, Tori.
Being held accountable. Both good and bad.
Yeah, good and bad. You know, give them the praise when they do a good job.
Right.
Tell them that they've done something good, of course. You know, give them the confidence that they need, but also let them know when they messed up. Let them know it's not cool to be dirty all day. It's not cool for the racks to look dirty and the floor to be dirty and your parts being on the floor. Anytime the customer can walk
when you
in,
work on equipment, that's just part a heavy equipment mechanic. This is part of life. Trust me, I did that long enough. You just live dirty. You just I just wanted a job where I didn't have to wash my hands and take a piss. That's all I wanted for years. I didn't care about the rest. I just want to have to wash the hydraulic fluid off my hands. Just take a piss.
Oh man, I can imagine heavy equipment. I couldn't do it. See, I'm a clean freak, Lou, and so my shop, I try to keep it clean as possible. But we bust our butts in here too, you know.
At the end of the day, you know, it's all pride. You clean your tools, you put them away, everything in its proper spot, taking inventory to make sure things aren't broken and missing. That's where the pride comes in.
Yeah, man. And pride is not a sin.
And like Jim said, you know, there's a lot of pride that comes with owning your own tools.
Yeah,
of course.
You know, that's why these guys got to buy their own shit, man.
Well, it's no different than when mommy buys you a car and you buy your car.
Right.
When you buy your car and you're paying that money and you're working for it, you clean it, you wash it, you make sure your friends don't disrespect it. But when your parents buy your car, you don't give a crap about it. It's transportation. You may or may not wash it. You'll hit potholes and curbs and you'll spill Cokes in it. You know, that's just the way. I've seen that too many times.
Oh, yeah.
And we need to get that people prideful in everything that they have. And that's one thing is when you pay for it yourself, tools, cabinets, toolboxes, all that stuff, they take better care of it, which is messed up in my book. You know, if I'm providing you with a really nice toolbox, can you take care of it? Just, you know, a percentage of how you take care of yours, man. That I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, whatever happened to, you know, take care of someone's stuff when they loan to you. Oh, you want to give it to them in the same shape or better than it was.
Tori,
listen, common courtesy is gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. None of the shop boxes have 10 millimeters, okay? None of the shop boxes. My shop box, I have my own boxes that are in the studio, and they're hands off. And I've got 4 or 5 10 millimeters in every size, 12, 6 point, because when you're on a job and you break a tool, lose a tool, something happens, you can't stop. You just grab the second 10 millimeter and you keep on trucking. That's how you make money. As a technician, you can make such good money and you can be prideful. You can be clean. You can leave the place in your nice car. And people say, man, what do you do for a living? I'm a mechanic. Really?
Yeah.
I would have never thought. You know what I mean? I see these other mechanics that's very stereotypical. And we have to fight the stereotype every day. Every day people come into this counter from the street. We're the bad guys. So the first thing, our first job is to get their trust. Then you can work on their cars. And, you know, that's something that I've been fighting. And I want to get the mindset different in people to know that mechanics are not just grease monkeys. We're not all crooks. We're not going to, you know, treat women bad. You know, we're respectful individuals who have lots of pride and do a great job of keeping people's cars on the road.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people don't realize we have moms and wives and daughters, you know, we look out for them.
You have to.
You know what's bad, though, too? To sell a job or to sell something, you have to work so hard to prove to the customer that you are who you say you are. And to get someone's trust is so hard sometimes these days.
It's the hardest.
It's so difficult where then you get the, well, so-and-so told me, and they're disputing what you just told them. Right, Lou? And it's almost impossible to, to make a sale or to give information.
I've been told
people.
that everything I say is different than what they've normally heard. And I'm like, well, think about where you are. I call myself the Grady of automotive repair shops. There's a local hospital called Grady, and they take care of everybody. When there is a catastrophe, you go to Grady. And it's a hole-in-the-wall hospital that's funded with sponsor money. And if you want to survive any catastrophe, you go
to Grady.
You go to Grady. You know what I mean? So, and that's what I consider myself. We don't upsell. We don't do anything. We fix your car. We save you money. We give you peace of mind. And that resonates so much to where people now, Tori, I don't have to fight so much for reputation or trust. You know what I mean? You kind of gain that over the years.
Right.
And so we've been fortunate to where when people come in, we've got the trust already, but you have to fix the car. And that's where a technician or someone of a higher stature needs to put their finger on that car and put a period on it so that you know that nothing's been missed. Boot marks, fingerprints, AC being on full blast when the car is parked in the parking lot. The technician in the summertime will test drive the vehicle and put the AC on full blast and leave it there. Then the customer gets in the car, they turn on the car, the stereo's blaring, the AC's on, and they're like, man, who's having fun in my car? They don't like that. Okay,
I know.
especially some of the women out there.
I remember I was working at a dealership one time, and the service manager, his hard, fast policy, hard and fast. It didn't matter how big you were, how tall you. It didn't matter. You did not adjust the seat.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
Didn't matter.
If you did, Lou, you put it back.
Right. Exactly.
Now,
You better not do it. And it was just best not to adjust it, because if you didn't get it right, and he saw and that person was sitting in that car adjusting that seat an inch, he'd come back to you. Why the fuck did you do it?
Yep.
So just don't do it. You know what I mean?
Well,
just don't do it.
I'm from the other side. I repoed the cars, so
Yeah.
all the seats were to the back.
Well, and see, Mac O'Brien, he said flat about the toolboxes. If you look at the sidebar there, that's how I know I won't have to repo the box. If the guy takes care of it the first week, he's a keeper. If not, he knows he's going to repo the box.
Yeah.
See, that's that personal pride thing, man.
Right.
It's important, man.
Very important.
Yeah.
I don't see why pride is a sin. Without pride, there's no quality. Period.
Well, because
Why
a
is it
lot
so
of
difficult?
because they've been taught that everybody's a winner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everyone gets a trophy. Right.
Everybody's a winner. Everyone gets a trophy. So you don't have to work for that.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get one anyway. So that's the problem. You got and then you go somewhere and you're like, no, it doesn't work that way. They don't know what to do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of value in feeling bad when you do not the best job or you don't do the right thing.
There is a lot of value.
And how not to repeat the same mistake again.
Right.
You feel that bad, you remember
Mm-hmm.
not to do it again.
That is true.
It's just that simple.
It's like Sam Mahdavi said. It's like pilot training. When you're in a plane with a pilot and you're being trained, the instructor is constantly yelling at you, so that when you're up there on your own and you come across a situation, you'll never forget what the customer said. I mean, the instructor said, because he yelled at you the whole time, and you'll remember that. So
He's still yelling in your head when you're up there by yourself anyway.
Yeah, man, you need that yelling in your ear so you can remember.
It's the same thing. Like when you go through dive school, or you go through BUDS. When they go through the diving phase, they call it problem solving. You're in this pool. You can't break the surface of the water, and the instructors will swim over you, ripping your regulator out of your mouth, turning off your bottles, and you got to work with your buddy diver, or else you're going to die.
Yeah.
They put you in the worst possible position, so when the shit's really going down, you're going to remain calm.
Exactly, because when you panic, everything's out the window, no matter what situation.
That's what they do, man. I mean, that's the only way you're going to survive those kind. But it's the same thing here. You got to do the right job, and you don't have to panic. You don't have to worry about it.
That's true.
They did that with us too, though, Lou.
Right.
They take your mask off in a fire. Now it's called hazing. You can't do it anymore. And now it's gone so far where guys are wearing their SCBAs for car fires.
Yeah.
Outside, really? When I had the roof, I wore my mask on my back. The minute I got put set foot on the roof, it came right off. You're out in the fresh air. What are you gonna do with it? It's in the way.
Well, it's all of this stuff goes back to where we were. Nobody wants to get in trouble. Nobody wants to take pride in it. No one wants to take ownership in it.
Nobody wants to hurt feelings.
Right. And no one wants to take ownership of these things, man.
Yeah.
You know what? If you don't like what I said, say so. I might say okay. I might not. I might tell you you're a big fucking baby and move on. Toughen up, Buttercup. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
It just depends.
This ain't a safe place.
Yeah. I mean, I talk to some of my friends when people listen to us talk. Jim, his cousin's wife, one day they had me on speakerphone, and me and Jim are going at it, and she's like, "Who is that guy? And do you like him?" She made him take the phone off of speakerphone because she was afraid the neighbors would hear me go crazy. We're just yelling at each other, cursing and carrying on.
Let me tell you my biggest pet peeve is I got my crew out here and I'm trying to make them fast and efficient. And they have all data. They've got the computer they can go to. They'll go walk past me to go ask Google a question. Or they'll go ask all data how much oil a car takes. And I'm like, what are you doing at the computer? Oh, I'm looking at the capacity on this. So I'm like, okay, let's say you're in the desert and you have a V6 or a 4-cylinder or a V8 and you're doing an oil change. How are you going to know how much oil to put in there? He goes, I don't know, Sam. Yeah, I said, if a 4-cylinder, you're going to start with 4. If it's a V6, you'll start with 4 to 4.5, turn on the car and go from there. If it's a V8, start with 5, turn on the car and go from there. I said, you going to the computer takes so much more time than you doing it yourself. Or you can ask one of us, especially when it comes to a diagnostic question. Before you ever go to Google, ask me. I'm a master.
You're there, right?
Yeah, I'm right here next to you. I'm like, dude, I'll answer it quicker. And you can believe me because I'm right in front of your face. You can see my certificate on the wall. You know who I am. You don't know the guy behind the screen. He could be leading you in the wrong direction, or he could be incorrect, and you don't know it. He doesn't know it. Right. And so, you're sitting here in trouble. Right. That's the biggest thing, Lou. I fight that every single day.
That's so funny.
It's crazy.
That's where you were raised. Go to Google.
Yeah, man.
See, Jim said I was a delicate flower.
If it's tangible, they don't believe it. They don't believe what's in front of them. Right. But they believe what's in the screen. Right. That's the biggest fight.
But there's so much bad information out there also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of bad information. And you got to be able to be smart enough to decipher what's good, what's bad, what's borderline, what's not so. I mean, I don't know. I don't get it. I really don't.
Yeah.
Well, I love the people that ask you the questions.
One person at a time. We got to fix it. We can fix it one person at a time.
I love the people you answer their question and they say, "Are you sure?" What did you ask me for in the first place?
Yeah, I love that.
Well, listen, I have guys ask me a question.
I mean, really?
I'll see them walk away and go ask somebody else the same question.
Yeah, I get that all the time.
Sometimes with you standing right there, it's like, dude, are you kidding me? He doesn't know more than I do.
Yeah, I get that all the time. And I've said it on TV too. There may be 100 different ways to do this, but this is the way I do it because I know this way works.
Yeah,
right.
I'm not saying I'm not open. I'm not saying that I'm not open to other ideas. I'm saying I know this works. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I'm more than willing to try something else.
Yeah,
I don't
there's
have a
nothing
problem
wrong
with
that. We're very good in what we do. We're not insecure about it. So if you have a better way of doing something, maybe I'm
on board.
Exactly right. I'm always on board.
I'm on board. And going back to what we were talking about earlier with all with the parts and all that. I remember when growing up when we first started messing with this stuff, small block Chevys never blew a head gasket.
Yes, you're right.
Now all of a sudden they blow head gaskets.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, what's going on?
You know what it is? Here's what I've seen. Okay, this is an epidemic going on. See, I've been in this business 20 years for myself, and I've been very fortunate to have 20 great years with lots of volume of diversity with cars. And I'm very passionate in whatever. If I was going to be a cashier or a mechanic or a pilot, I was going to be the best one I could be. So I pay very good attention to what's going on. I think what happens is, like for instance, torque converter shutter. Okay, torque converter shutter was 40 years ago. Okay, today's cars have misfires. 99.9% of the time, A torque converter diagnosis, shutter diagnosis, is a misfire. So the car comes in, and the technician diagnoses the car. Everybody on the forum has already said, oh, it's torque converter shutter if you feel this symptom. Car comes in, the technician doesn't know how to diagnose the car, so they put a transmission in it. When they go to test drive the car, the transmission didn't fix the car, okay?
Right.
They're never going to tell the customer that. They're going to fix the car by putting an ignition coil in it or a set of spark plug wires or spark plugs, and they're not going to make themselves look bad, and they're not going to take the money out of their cash drawer, so they're going to tell them, here's your car back, it's fixed, new transmission works great. Okay, but it really wasn't that. So the person who owns the car goes home, because that's what people do. They go home, they get on the chat rooms, and they start to talk to their friends, and they tell their friends their experiences. They're not complaining or anything. They're just saying, hey, yeah, today my car did this. I went to the shop, they fixed it, put a transmission in it. Cool, I'm good. Oh, man, my car is doing the same thing. Maybe that's what it is. It's such misconstrued information out there from technicians doing misdiagnosis on cars that the forums are blowing up in volume of the wrong information. And that's the hardest thing for me to get people to understand. And, you know, I have to be political on my radio show. I can't say, you know, I know the answers to a lot of the questions, but I can't give a definite answer because there may be another variable. And so therefore, Sam wants me to be perfect in my answer, or don't give it at all, or give an explanation with it. And I understand that. You got to be political. But there are times where the answer is what it is, and you got to give it. And when you know, that's just what it is. And our biggest problem today is that we are misdiagnosing cars, leading people in the wrong direction, and causing a bad reputation for us because people are spending a lot for the cars. There is only one. I have a Ford Escape outside too, where the torque converter failed, and it's such a bad shutter that the torque converter won't even disengage. The car shuts off like it's a stick shift. Now, in that particular case, it's the torque converter. You can totally tell it's the torque converter. Very seldom does that happen. And so we're fighting that every day, Lou.
Oh, yeah, I believe it.
It's just,
see,
you know,
it's all misdiagnosis because these guys don't understand that there's a process.
Yes.
I remember I had my mother-in-law's car, and it was a few years ago, and it was acting weird. And I'm not savvy with the new cars. I'm just not, because I don't do it. I'd rather build chassis and put drive lines in cars. It's just what I do. So I take it to the GM dealership, and they tell me it's the O2 sensor. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I tell the technician, this girl, I said, what made it go bad? And she looks at me and goes, well, it's the O2 sensor. I said, no. I need you to explain to me what made the O2 sensor go bad. I understand that the O2 sensor reads the fuel, reads what's being burnt in the exhaust. It has a job to do, and it's telling the computer how much is in the exhaust so the computer can make the necessary changes so the engine runs right. I get that. But I want to know what else is bad. Is it an injector? Is it getting too much fuel? Is it getting not enough fuel? Is it not getting 12 volts? What is it? Because if it's not getting 12 volts, that could give you a false positive that the injector's bad, that the O2 sense is bad. And she's looking at me, she's like, it's the O2 sensor. I'm like, no, that's not the right fucking answer.
How can you cause the O2 sensor to go bad?
You know what I mean? I want to know if you're 100% positive. If it's the just telling me it's the O2 sensor isn't the answer.
You're right.
That's what the computer said.
Yeah,
right.
That's what the computer
and that's all they know. And that's why now you have so many misdiagnoses because they're not looking at everything in the tree.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's a family tree. It's not a shrub. It's a family
process
tree.
Of elimination.
Exactly.
Process of elimination.
Yeah.
And you know, the biggest thing that goes out on an O2 sensor is the heater circuit.
Right.
9 out of 10 times it's the heater circuit that goes bad. 1 out of 10 times it's the fact that the O2 sensor's switching abilities, the fact that it switches back and forth, slows down or goes or gets stuck. But that's the thing. If you asked that question and she had those two answers, you'd have been happy. Done. Thank you. It's not a fuse. It's not a relay. It's not something upstream that killed my O2 sensor, because if we don't fix what's upstream, then we're going to kill the O2 sensor again. And the prime example of that is the catalytic converters. Catalytic converters can survive if everyone just took care of the engine and the exhaust coming out of the heads was good, then the catalytic converter is going to survive. So, you know, it all boils down to that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
unfortunately, I never had to have one of those changed. I never burned up a catalytic converter, so I guess I'm doing something
You're
right.
doing something right. You're using good gas. You're
have to.
blowing it out once in a while. You know, when you sit there and you lug a motor, you are heating everything up. You're creating carbon, and people don't understand that when you lug a motor, you're reducing timing. When you reduce timing, that piston, the combustion happens later. That piston is on its downstroke, and more of that cylinder wall that's got the coolant around it is exposed to the fire of the combustion, and that's what heats everything up. You know, a lot of people don't go in that far. They don't know that, Lou. A lot of people can't tell you how EGR works.
Oh, I know.
How
It's crazy.
EVAP works, what they're for.
Yeah.
You know, it's a dying art that I would like to teach folks again. And I think the schools, just like a textbook is there to give you information on sensors and abbreviations and basics of what systems do, but they don't teach you what mostly fails, why it fails, how it fails.
Mhm.
For instance, the biggest thing people don't know is they think a ground is not important. They think a ground is just a strap that's bolted to something, a piece
To
of metal.
frame.
Dude, without the ground, you have no voltage. Your voltage is only as good as your ground.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of people don't know that, and that's what we need to teach.
Yeah. You're
They
right.
say
I agree.
they say ground is important, but they don't say why and what
Right.
it affects, you know?
Right.
So
You learn the ground is important when the first time you put an engine in a car and you don't have a good enough ground, it smokes the whole front half of the wiring on it. That's when you learn the ground's important.
that's the biggest reason, man. A lot of people put used motors in and they don't clean the surface of the used motor and they just put
Yeah.
the ground right on. It's
Yeah.
over.
You see, I did that once on my 68 Camaro when I was younger. And you know what? I never made that mistake ever again. Something that negative where I was so mad I left the car alone for a month. I was so annoyed that I did that. I should have known better. I never made that mistake ever again.
I did
And, you
that,
know-
and I didn't have a good enough ground. You know how I solved that from here on out? I weld a 3/8 bolt to the frame rail. That's my ground.
Might be
And
overkill, but it works.
I put a
Yeah.
battery cable from the battery to the ground, and then I put one from the engine to the bolt.
Yeah.
They're both on the bolt. 3/8 bolt welded to the frame.
That's
Never
foolproof.
had that problem again.
Hey, you can never overdo your ground. You know what I mean?
Never.
Never. You can overdo voltage.
That's what I do, man.
I
I'm
can't
not
tell
playing
you.
games.
And then I've got one of my technicians. He's I mean, so talented. He's one of the best. He's so fast and very efficient. And he's 30 years old and he understands the old stuff. And he's just very savvy and very prideful and confident in what he does. And you know, the better you do, the more confidence you gain.
Oh, yeah.
The more jobs you'll tackle, and the more experienced you become. And so he's done a really good job. And so a couple times I've caught him on grounds like this doesn't work or that doesn't work. I'm like, well, did you check the ground? He goes, yeah, Sam, there's one ground. I'm like, but you know, we just replaced the engine. That one ground could be dirty or compromised. I'm like, whenever you do an engine swap or anything, you always add a ground. It's even better to add a ground just so the system works.
Just to be safe, yeah.
Just to be safe, even
Because-
if the factory grounds were fine. So he's been learning a lot about little things that he doesn't know, but for the most part, he knows a lot. But it's those little things that keeps you going. That it's the little things that gives
The
you the
details.
bigger knowledge, the details. Exactly
Yeah.
right.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's, you know, like you look at a Honda. You know, I don't know. I'm not sure about the newer ones, but the older ones always have this little, it's not even a 10 gauge wire coming from the valve cover to the core support.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, why do you waste your time putting, it should be a battery cable as far as
Dude,
I'm
Be a big
Lou,
cable.
Honda has the one on the valve cover. It's got the one on the transmission, and then it's got the one it's got the one on the engine harness. Okay, and this is how I learned about grounds. We were doing engine swaps back in '99, and we did an engine swap on a Honda, and we forgot to put the exhaust ground back on. Okay, so I had one ground and two were off. So I called my buddy, God rest his soul, he's gone now. Very good Honda technician. I'm like, hey, John, what's up with this? He goes, Sam, it's your ground. I'm like, no way. He goes, you did an engine swap. I go, yeah. He goes, well, did you put the ground and the exhaust back on? I'm like, no. He goes, that's it. I'm like, no way. He goes, okay, whatever. Just don't call me back.
Right. You're gonna be a dumbass. Have a nice day.
I go and I connect the ground, and the car fired up. I'm like, no way. I'm like, wow, I'll never forget that day. And that's what taught me about grounds. And I'll never forget a ground because of that day. And it's the little things like that, man, that leave such a big mark in your memory. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So,
but I mean, I will always put. I'm serious. I will weld a bolt to the damn frame rail. I don't care what it is. I'll put it on there, because my thing is, you work on the older cars. You got something like with a big block Ford, that you always had that one on the back of the head going to the firewall, and you're like, fuck, man, you can barely get your hand back there. Right. And then when you get the bolt in there, it's all by feel. So you got the wrench back, before ratcheting wrenches. So you take it off. Take it off. Like, man, screw this. I'm just going to put another ground on.
That is so true, man. That is so true.
So that's what I do. I'll take that. If it ain't on there, I don't put it on there. I know I'm going to put one on there.
You know what I forget, Lou? I forget every time I do an engine swap. I forget the dipstick. The dipstick goes in last. Dude, it's the hardest item to put in last. And for some reason, every time I go to check the oil, the dipstick's not in there. I'm like, holy shit.
God.
Oh, dude, 1,000 engine swaps later, I still forget the dipstick. And we're still scratching our heads. How are we going to get this dipstick in the car? Got to release the man.
God.
And we all have our problems,
That's funny, though.
We do, and some can't be fixed.
Yeah,
I'll tell you stories about that one day.
Oh, God.
Some cars, you can't get it in.
No, you're right.
No,
you're right.
It's impossible. We just did an SSR with an LS swap, and the motor came out of a Camaro, and the SSR 5.3, the provision for the oil pan was in the oil pan. And so my technician goes, Sam, we have 2 holes and 1 dipstick. I'm like, oh, no, what are we going to do? Luckily, I was able to put a 1/8 NPT tap into the block, and there was no oil pan, so the debris just fell right out. Put a plug in that one, call it a day. There you go. He goes, I didn't think of that. I didn't think about that. I'm like, now you
ingenuity.
Learn something. Yeah, you just gotta power through things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what makes you a good technician. Throw the book away and power through it.
You don't need
don't throw it too far away.
I mean, it's good to learn from, to get the basics, but sometimes you don't look at the book because sometimes it's convoluted. Sometimes it's just not what you need, not what you're looking for.
And sometimes you can't understand the literature because of the way they word it. At the end of the day, it's not that we're stupid. It's just because they word it so weird that you can't understand it. The ASC test, when I take the ASC certificates testing, it's like they ask the question, and in the answers, I have fixed the car without those answers. So what do I do? I'm going to totally guess on this multiple question thing because none of those answers I've come across. I know this answer. And it's not part of the multiple choice. So
that's why I think AFD is a joke.
Yeah,
honestly, I mean, it's just, to me, it's just a money grab.
Well, people, and the thing is that they've put it in people's heads, the customer, that if they don't see a certificate, they think you're an idiot. That's
you don't need a certificate all the time, right?
When I got the job at the school, they asked me, what makes you qualified to do this job? I was like, and I was like, I got over 30 years experience. I remember when ASCs didn't even exist.
Exactly.
I remember when they came in, you know, and I was like, because what?
They tried to tell him no because they're racist.
Hey, Nick.
Oh God!
It's my youngest. but
so many people don't know what the word racist even means.
Oh, I know. They've never experienced it. They've never really experienced it.
That's a whole other hour for that.
That's a whole other hour.
Shit, that's a fucking week. What are you talking about?
It's a week. I could go on for days about that.
Just warm it up. That's all.
But yeah, I mean, they wanted to know. And I'm like, I've done this for over 30 years. I mean, and ASC doesn't like me anyway. They didn't. Yeah. I'm the guy that ASC doesn't want you to know about. You know what I mean? I'm the guy. I'm going to make control lumps. You're going to what? You're going to who? Are you qualified? No, I'm not. No. I'm not. I'm going to do it anyway, though.
You're on TV once you try it.
Man, it's just like, what do you do? You mean to tell me you're going to lower this car? How? It's what?
I know, man.
They
I know.
they don't like guys like me. I'm
You know,
their worst nightmare.
I don't know if you remember, but you and I met in 2005 at Las Vegas at the SEMA show. Back when you were doing your first TV show, the Muscle Car.
Muscle Car, yeah.
And you did a Honda Civic on that show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's how I came up to you and talked to you because I'm the Honda guy. Like I've done more Honda engine swaps than anybody.
I'll be calling you. Don't worry.
Yeah, I could tune a Honda with my eyes closed and fix them, no problem. And you and I met because that was the time when there were installers challenges going on at the SEMA show.
Yep.
And you would build a car in 48 hours with a team, and you wouldn't stop to sleep.
Yep.
And so in 2005, if you remember, Nopi was down there, and they blocked off the street so they can have a drag race.
I remember
with
that.
the two Evolutions.
Yeah.
Well, right before the drag race, I was the guy who did the burnout in my drag car all the way down the strip.
Yeah.
That was a fun time, dude. It was cold.
Yeah.
And they let me do a full. The cop said I wasn't expecting that because they just thought it was going to be a burnout. But I went out there and did a full-fledged drag racing burnout.
Right.
Halfway down the street. They were like, man, we weren't expecting that. But it was so fun. And that's the first time you and I met.
That's cool. I know
we
exactly
hit it
what
off.
you're talking about. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, your beard was black.
Yeah. Fuck
Yeah.
Hey,
Hey,
man,
don't
it just
take
means
offense to
you're
that.
more
Just don't say
knowledgeable now.
Yeah.
But your hair up here looked the same. So.
Yeah, I've been shaving my head since '78. I didn't even know that I started going bald. Like I didn't even know. After I retired, like 10 years after I retired from the military, I was like, let me see what my hair looks like. Wow, I'm losing my hair because I've been shaving it the whole time I was in.
That is so funny.
I even told my wife, "Did you see I'm going bald?" She's like, "You are bald." I'm like, no,
You
really,
are.
I'm losing my hair.
It's different when you have no option, It's different. My forehead is gaining real estate every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, more
like, what
than
the
hair. I
hell?
got the same problem. So,
Yeah.
I learned I was losing my hair. One of the guys in the fires gave me a haircut. We're going to a wedding. So instead of paying the money to go to a barber shop, one of the guys who cut hair in the Marines gave me a haircut. I said, Paulie, make sure you leave it a little bit long on top. I'm going to a wedding on Saturday. Yeah, no problem. I mean, I come home, I knock on the door. The storm door's locked. My wife's running for the phone. Just call the cops because I'm breaking in. No, Lee, it's me. Give me a haircut. What do you have for? I was trying to save some money. I don't know. You bought lunch and you did that to your head? What's the matter with you? So, hey, but
it's crazy, man. I mean, it's like I'm gonna start doing my online show middle of next month, and I know I got to do a bunch of different things. I have to. I can't just do muscle cars and trucks and all that. I got to do, and I'm gonna do a couple Honda swaps. I'm gonna do a couple Honda swaps. I got a Toyota a four-door Corolla.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking about making it rear-wheel drive just because. Why not?
Wow. You better have a lot of time set aside for that one.
Oh, I ain't worried about it.
That's a lot of work to make a Toyota rear-wheel drive. You're going to put a Supra or a Scion FRS motor in it?
Whatever I find. I ain't scared. I'm too dumb to be scared. You have to understand.
Dude, I'm with you. No,
you know what I mean? The show.
I'm actually thinking about getting a V6 Honda motor because and you could probably answer this. I know some of the V6s turn clockwise, but I don't know which one.
All the V6s turn clockwise.
Okay.
The old B series and H series, the timing belt engines go counterclockwise.
See, I want clockwise.
Yeah.
I want clockwise
All
because
the chain-driven ones go because that way you can turn it around and go back and go.
I can go north-south. There you go.
Exactly. Right.
I can already make an adapter. I'm even thinking about building my own bell housing. That'd be fucking badass.
That would be if you have all the time. If time grows on trees for you, Lou, that'd be great. I'd love to come out and even help you, but time don't grow on trees.
Trust me, it's gonna get
Special
ugly
guest
fast.
on Garage Society
It's
TV.
gonna get ugly
that'd be
fast.
great. That'd be great.
Trust
I'll
me.
come do a Honda swap with you, and we'll do it in a couple hours.
I don't know if you're ready for me to do one with you. I don't know if you're ready because I'm just gonna perimeter cut the floor, build a chassis, turn the engine.
I'll bring my torch. I'll bring my hammer and my pry bar. We'll be good to go.
Don't forget the duct tape.
Yeah, no kidding. Duct tape's always in the back pocket.
Can't be scared, man.
So it doesn't look like duct tape. Lou, in 2001, we had done so many Honda engine swaps because Fast and Furious had just come out also. And we had done so many Honda engine swaps that we got bored. So I bought a CRX and I bought a NSX complete drivetrain, meaning the subframe, the engine, transmission, everything, okay? So we took the engine out of the front, cut the floor out of the back, put the car down onto the subframe and built a cage around it.
There you
go.
And
then lifted it up, and it still runs. Today I actually posted it because I had to make it run again so I could film it for my TV show. And I was showing people how not to use the foam that you get in your race cells. The foam that keeps everything from sloshing will also destroy your fuel system.
Yes.
So I just told people, use a smaller tank if you're drag racing, and then take the foam out of it and keep your tank full so that there is no dryness. You won't come out, no slosh. It won't hurt you. And so that car still runs. It's 18 years old.
That's
and
awesome.
I just fired it up, put the new fuel pump and everything on it. And that is one that's
awesome.
I was just so proud. I was just so bored that we did it. And three people who helped me build that car are God rest their souls. They're passed away now.
Yeah.
So, but
I did me and my friend Wayne did a 66 Rambler in 80. You could adjust the timing. We put a small block in it. You could adjust the timing from the driver's seat.
That's cool. One of those old MSD knobs?
No, it was just a damn dual. It was a dual point distributor.
Oh wow!
No Mallory.
That is so cool. That is so cool. See, sometimes when you get bored, you come up with some cool stuff,
Oh, last time I got bored, I pro streeted a fucking 68 Chevy van.
Holy shit.
Pretty good.
That is awesome, man.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
I got so many ideas, so many twisted ideas floating through my head. I want to do I can lay my hands on it's a 63 Volvo. Remember they did, and I don't know the models. But remember they did when it had fenders and it looked like a little fastback lead sled, like a Chop Mert.
Yeah.
Well, they did a coupe one too.
Really?
And they did a wagon.
63, 64, I think.
It's like a B series. I'm not sure, but I can lay my hands on the coupe right now. Here's what I was thinking about doing. This would be cool. I'm either thinking a Mazda Miata motor because it's already rear wheel drive, or do the V6 Honda motor, tube chassis it, cut the fenders, make them 2 inches wider, and call it low fat. Low, L-O hyphen P-H-A-T for the license plate.
Yeah, that would be totally cool. You want to go with the V6 because if you're going to spend that much time building that car, you want more than 140, 160 horsepower.
Well, see, see, that's what I got to do. I just don't know. I don't know anything about the Miata motor.
No, you don't want the Miata motor is good for when you're going on the SCCA course and you can just keep it floored. See, there's something fun about taking a car and never lifting your foot off the gas and going through the road course with it.
I got you.
You know what I mean? It just doesn't have enough power, and then when you go to make the power, it's going to break on you. Then you have to go forge pistons and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Put the V6 in there. You can even turbocharge it. I've turbocharged 3 of them, and it makes 270 horsepower from the jump. It's reliable. You can put 8 pounds of boost on it, make 400 horsepower, and call it a day.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm going to do the V6.
And the parts are in abundance, and you can buy the engine cheap.
I noticed that. I was looking at the price. They were like $900.
Yeah, you can even get a 3.5 Odyssey engine, okay, for like 8 to 1,000.
Minivan.
Yeah, minivan. That's what I did. I took a Honda Accord 99. I took the 3-liter out, put a 3.5 liter in, converted it to stick shift, and then put a supercharger on it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. He still has it. 20 years.
Lou, when are we picking the car up? Where's this Volvo? When am I picking it up?
I got to get the show going first, and I'm going to do low fat.
So you're starting an internet show doing custom work on top of Car Fix.
Yeah, I actually had another shop all ready to go, and that fell apart. So that's a whole nother story. But there's a company named Strut Masters. They do strut replacements for factory air systems. The owner of the company, Chip Laughlin,
he's awesome.
I've known him for 12 years now, 13 years. he called me up 2 weeks before Christmas and he said, "Look, let's do it." So he's got a building. He gave me a big chunk of the building, and I'm getting it all ready. So if everything, it should be. I got a welder up there. I got to get my chassis table up there. I'm actually going to bring both my chassis tables up there. One of them is being used at the school, but I'm going to get my chassis table up there, and then I'm going to bring probably, lay my hands on something like the Volvo or whatever I can get that's small. You know what I mean? And then go from there, because I got to have a variety of cars. Chip's got 30 cars that need to be built, and he wants me to build them so I got video. He's got a guy on staff that shoots and edits. So that's all done. I'm not worried about that, but I got to have a variety to get the eyeballs. If I don't have a variety, it's not going to work. But I'm going to teach, man. I'm going to do hardcore. This is how I do it, and it works for me. And if I don't know how to do it, I'll call someone that does, and we'll figure it all out.
Exactly right, man.
And
you're doing this in Carolina?
Yeah, 2 hours from the house.
That's cool. See, that's close enough to if you ever needed some help, call me up and I'll come.
Oh yeah, it'll get ugly fast.
Where are you located, Sam?
I'm in
Atlanta. Call me up. We'll come from the north and from the south. We'll converge. And
he's in Atlanta. He's in Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll race you from New York, from Atlanta. Let's see who makes that quicker.
Jason said do an LS and a Pacer. I'm not. See, like I would do a Pacer, but I wouldn't put an LS in it. I would put a 403 AMC in it.
That's cool.
See,
that's cool.
Keep it all AMC.
We just got to do fuel injection because carburetors do nothing but piss me off.
It's easy. You build a manifold for it.
That's true. There you go.
You build
old carburetor is a big fuel leak, really, when you think about it.
Well, this all goes back
401,
to time.
not 403. I said 403. It's a 401.
I know what you meant.
This all goes back to time growing on trees. See, for Lou, time grows on trees. That's why you can make intake manifolds and tube chassis and all this stuff.
But see, the thing is, you got. But see, here's the thing, though. And Chassis John knows this. Chassis, even to a certain extent, have become standardized.
Mm-hmm.
You look at all the pro stocks and super stocks and all that; they have basically standardized the chassis. Once you understand that, it becomes a lot easier than you think.
Yeah.
Like I use a lot of S10 spindles. I use a lot of second gen Camaro spindles. It doesn't matter what I put it on, because I tell people all the time, the only reason why you know that is an S10 spindle is because I just told you.
Exactly.
It's an inanimate object. So there you go. And all right, Chassis John just said it, almost no changes besides the double rail since 1993.
Wow.
John knows.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So you stop and think about that. You're applying the same information. You're just making it smaller. That's it. You know what I mean? It may not be as wide. It may not be as long, but the basic configuration remains the same. That's all you got. That's all you got to remember. Once you understand that, it's just like you were saying. Once you learn how to diagnose, you can do it.
Yes, you get the confidence. Just like when it comes to chassis and welding and making support structures. Like for instance, I built a lot of turbochargers, and of course you turbocharger kits, not turbochargers. You get scared, but the only way to tackle your fear is to tackle it. Do it.
Right.
See if it worked. If it didn't work, where'd you fail? How to fix it, and how you can perfect it. Once you've got the confidence level down, dude, it's over. Like you're powerful. You can do whatever.
Right. Well, my nephew's in the Marine Corps. He's been in 9 months, 10 months, and I told him a couple of weeks ago, you can't let fear rule your life. Period.
Nothing will get
the
done.
moment you let it rule your life, you get nothing done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing. If you're afraid to rebuild a turbocharger, fear just won.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is.
Even if you screw it up, man.
Right.
Even if you go to do it and you screw it up, at least you did it. You know what you did to screw it up. The second one you do, you won't do it that way, and you may succeed.
Right.
The only way to know is to tackle it.
Right. That's why you can't let it rule your life, man. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're in combat. You can't let fear rule your life, because the stakes are higher. You know what I mean?
You're right.
If you build a turbocharger and it fucks up, it fucked up. You can go back and fix it. But there are some situations in life where fear can end your life, and you can't let it rule your life. That's where you get in trouble. You get in trouble. It's just that simple.
Look at my job. If we had just look at every decision that we made on the fire ground, nothing would get accomplished. People would die. Buildings would be
and that's why you can't let it rule your life.
when you go back and you do a drill and see what the results were from your actions,
Right.
then you may say, "Wow, we're a little bit nuts. Look what just happened." But
Well,
things
and you
work
know,
out, though.
and at the end of the day, you stop and think about it. You know, this is one of the biggest things that I feel is hurting the automotive industry for probably since the early 90s. You had all these high school guidance counselors telling these kids, you got to go to school and get a 4-year degree. Nobody's going to want to turn wrenches. That's going away. We need plumbers. We need all these people. They're gonna go away. Houses still have shitters in them. Cars still have engines. They're going to go away. No, they're not.
Yeah.
No, they're
You know
not.
what I mean? So what's happened is now you got these guys that want to get into it, and yeah, they have a 4-year degree, but they don't have the network of friends to help them.
And they
When they
wasted
run-
their time on a 4-year degree.
Right. When they're trying to get something fixed on their car, and they're trying to do it themselves, or they're learning how to do it, they don't have that network. If I start doing that low fat project, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would have never. I just thought a Miata motor or a Honda V6. I don't know why. It's just what came to mind, right? You just gave me a really good fucking reason not to do the Miata motor.
Mm-hmm.
If I run into a problem with the chassis, I'll call Chassis John and bounce ideas off of him, just like he's called me and bounced ideas off of me. It's having that network.
Exactly right.
Playing
And
in traffic,
if you want
network.
something that's power to weight, that'll make the power and still be low on weight and still be a small package to put inside the Volvo, is going to be a Honda S2000 2.2 engine. At least you're starting with 220 horsepower. When you turbocharge it, you can make over 350 to 400 horsepower reliably, and it's a small package. It'll fit wherever you want it to, and you'll be reliable with power and small package power to weight ratio. If you're going to do a 4-cylinder, there you go.
I don't want a 4-cylinder. I want a 6.
Done it. Let's do it.
It's a V. It's a V.
Yes, it is.
I could lie to
hold on.
everyone. It's a 4.3. I just changed the valve covers.
My friend John sent me an ad for an AMC Pacer for $250 in Port Jefflo.
Oh no!
I bet I put it on top of the 55. I'll bring it down.
There you go.
You want roof to roof upside down and get them both down.
And see, Jason is saying do a 2JZ. Why? I want to do something. If I'm gonna do something like the Volvo, I want to put something totally off the wall in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why I was thinking the Mazda motor. I mean, I know they're big in SCCA, but you don't see them in oddball stuff. At least I don't. And then I got to thinking, and then I was at the school and I saw an Acura with a V6. I'm like, ooh, that. Yeah. I'm like, that would be cool because I don't see those.
No.
You know what I mean?
No. Only a
John is
few
saying
people.
a Cummins 4-cylinder.
You're seeing a lot of a few of those V6 Accords, V6 Honda engines ending up in Civics front-wheel drive, and they're shoehorning them up in there and closing the hoods. That's been about
hot
the last
rodding.
3 years. That's hot rodding, exactly right.
But see, here's the thing. See, like that to me, that's cool, right? But I'm gonna go a step further. I'm gonna make the mounts.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're gonna make the mounts, the exhaust. You're gonna make the whole thing.
At the end of the day, you got to stop and think. A lot of these, like I go on some of these Honda forums. These guys are like, oh, you can't do that. Nobody makes mounts. Who cares?
Yeah, it's just metal and a welder.
Right.
That's where fear comes in.
Right.
Metal and a welder.
Right. And you look at like I read some of this stuff, and these guys are like, oh, you can't do it. It's going to take 5 years. You don't have this. You don't have. What are you talking about? It's an engine. It sucks, squeeze, bang, boom. If you can put that in, if you can get that to work, it's going to run.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
You know what I mean? It's like, you're telling me I can't do it. All right, have a nice day.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it on video so you can see it.
Yeah, man.
You see that smoky three-gear burnout? Woo!
And see, we need to change that mentality. We need to change that you can't do it mentality to, man, that's possible. I can do that. Let's do it.
Nothing is impossible.
Nothing is impossible. Nothing.
I mean,
dude.
I can do it on a grand scale. I can perimeter cut the floor, lift the body up, and put it on a fucking tube chassis. I got time.
I realized back in the day that you can put 7 to 8 pounds of boost in any engine and it'll survive as long as you treat it right, just like nitrous.
Yeah.
If you put nitrous on a car and you know how to use that nitrous and you hit it at the right time in the right gear with the right revs at the right speed, your engine will not blow. But if you misuse nitrous, and of course it's going to grenade. Same thing with the turbocharger. I used to turbocharge so many cars that never came with a turbocharger, and it would work every time. And it was fearful. Don't get me wrong, because no one's ever done it. I've never done it. You would have to manipulate the fuel system, and then you would have to make sure the car's computer did not see the extra boost. So it was tough, but the only way to achieve it would be to tackle it. And if I was scared, then I wouldn't do it. But I was scared the first couple times of doing it. I realized it worked, and from then on, it was just on. Like I was unstoppable, man. I turbocharged everything back in the day.
Right.
That's called the test lab. When you do something that hasn't been done before, you do it a few times, they all turn out well.
Yeah,
that's your R&D right there, right?
Exactly right. R&D, dude. That's the best R&D you can get.
Look at the knowledge you gained.
Yes. I wouldn't trade it for anything, no matter how long it took, no matter how much things failed. That's school. No different than you go to school and you fail a test or you got to pay for the tuition. Either way, if you're paying for a mistake in your shop, you learn from it. As long as you learn from it, and it costs you a little bit of money, that's no different than you paying a school to teach something, to learn something.
Well, the very first vehicle I backhalved was my '69 GMC. And this friend of mine, Greg, Super Shops was still around. This friend of mine, Greg.
Super Shops, man.
Yeah. This friend of mine, Greg, told me about this guy, Royce, in Virginia, in Norfolk, who did chassis work out of his garage. So I went to Royce's house. I met him. We talked. And the dude did phenomenal work. And we're talking. And he just tells me, he goes, go home and do it yourself. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you know how to weld. You know how it's supposed to look. You know what it's supposed to do. Call me if you need me. Went home, cut the truck in half, and did it myself. He narrowed the rear end for me because I didn't have the stuff to do it. You know what I mean? But since then, I've had my fixture now for 20 years. You know, and my fixture's homemade.
Wow.
You know, so I did it, and it tracked right. It was a 1/16 of an inch out of square. I can live with that. Factory allows for a quarter. Okay, I did good.
Yeah,
you know,
that's the factory, right?
Right, and when I went home, when I got it done, I took it to his house and let him look at it, and he's like, "You did good, cool."
And that's the best feeling you can get.
Right.
It's priceless. You know?
Right.
That's vindication. You did a job well done.
Right.
You learn so much from it.
I learned how to do it.
Yep.
And now I just, it doesn't matter. I'll cut it up and I'll stuff tires under it, do whatever I want to do to it.
Yeah, man. Once you get past that first hurdle, it's so much easier and so much better to go into every single job after that. You're like,
and let me tell you something. It was funny because we were in a rented house, right? And the driveway was like this, and it was like a quarter of a garage. So I had all my tools and the washing machine and dryer were jammed in there. All this, and when I backed the truck up the driveway, the front wheels were on the slope. So me and my dad made stands so the truck would be level. So the front suspension is hanging, and we set it up so it would be at ride height, which was another job. And then when I cut it, I had torches, but I didn't want to use torches on the frame.
Right.
Just because I know I could, and I've done it before, since then, but I didn't want to take the chance. So I took my dad's 7 1/4 Milwaukee skill saw with a metal cutting blade on it. And when I cut the first frame rail, the truck was so twisted, it popped and the skill saw flew out of my hand. I wasn't ready for it.
Wow.
When it was done, the frame rail was like this, the top of the frame rail. That's how bad it was. So we're looking at it, and my dad goes, okay, here's what we're going to do. My dad was an ironwork. He's like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to drill some holes in the driveway. We're going to pour some concrete in there. We're going to put chains in there, and we're going to make anchors. I'm like, okay. So this house is rented. We got his hammer drill out. We drill it in the concrete. We put like 3-inch holes. We we took some 3/8 chain, probably a foot long, put some bolts through the bottom link, so it was like a T in the concrete.
Yeah.
Dropped them in there, poured the concrete in there, let them set, and then we pulled the chassis back over. We heated it and relieved it, got it straight and got it level. Fucking built a set of frame rails off the back.
That's the best, dude. That's the best. Like, you can never replicate that. You know, that is so cool.
And we and got it done. You know,
Yeah.
I wanted the truck to be lower, so I cut the spring pockets out, lowered the spring pockets down 2 inches. I mean, it was just did it. You know,
Improvising. You improvised.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
did it.
That is so cool that Dad said, "Let's do it. Let's drill those holes
yeah.
and put that in and
Oh,
knock
yeah.
it out."
Oh yeah, it
What
was
was
funny.
the
They
ramifications
were
of the
like,
landlord?
"Oh, that's it. We're done."
We didn't tell the landlord we moved out. They probably wonder why it was
He's probably
changed.
looking like, what did he change?
Exactly.
That is so cool.
It was so funny, man.
Love it.
But that's what it's about, man. It's about getting rid of that
Right.
fear. And
Right.
when you have no fear, you're so much more powerful. And
Yeah.
what you didn't know inside you is going to come out. And you become this person, this knowledgeable person that's not afraid to tackle anything that you may not know that you've ever had it in you to do that, you know?
Right. Right.
So it's very good, very powerful. And that's what we need to teach these young adults today, is to make sure that they've got the confidence to tackle anything. Don't be afraid. Yeah, you're going to get cut. Yeah, you may screw up. You may make a mistake. You may hurt your own feelings. You may get yelled at by your boss, but that's how you learn.
That's how you learn.
That's how you learn.
Yep. That's how you do it. You got it, and you got to do it. Because if you don't, you're never gonna get better at what you do.
No.
That's what these guys got to understand. You know, the only way you're going to become successful is to get better. You have to master what you do.
Yeah. Master
You know?
to the point where you're so bored about it and you just want to do something else with it, like teach others your knowledge. Because you gain so much knowledge, then you've done so much. You're like, okay, what am I going to do now? Well, let's go and help other people. Let's give them the knowledge. And that
Yeah.
keeps
Right.
it going, you know?
Yeah.
Keeps you interested as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do, man. It's going to just build wacky shit.
So you work in a school, in a body shop school, teaching body work? or
Man,
everything?
no, I don't do body work.
Mhm.
I don't have to. I can't feel it. Like I can't tell you
Yeah.
something. I understand the process. I know the process.
It takes a special person to do body work, dude.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
But I'm in this class. It's called restoration.
Mhm.
$250 gets you 16 weeks. Right?
Wow.
Oh, it gets better. But wait, there's more. So we have 2 sections. There's a 1 to 5 in the afternoon class and a 6 to 10. All right. If you want to come in at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and work till 10 at night, you can.
Wow.
We don't run you off.
Mhm.
You supply your basic hand tools and the parts you need to do the job, and we will help you. We will show you how to build whatever it is you're building.
Really? So they come in with their own projects?
Bring in
And
your
they're-
own project.
So you guys are just mentoring them.
Exactly. Say that the Honda that you made rear engine, say you want to paint that, right?
Mhm.
You bring it in. There's Casey and Ronnie and Davenport. They all do body work.
Mhm.
Davenport is a good general wrench on top of that. And then there's Heath, which is Ronnie's son. Heath is 24, 25. He works at a race team, so he does heavy fab work like I do. And then there's me. And you want to paint it. Ronnie and Heath knows body work too. Like say Ronnie will come over and he'll go over the car with you. What do you want to do? You know, where are you trying to go? All that. They'll play 20 questions with you. And then they tell you, okay, this is what you need to do. And then, you strip it down. They show you how to strip it. Then when you start, and then you put in an epoxy primer. You want to put in an epoxy primer, but you've never sprayed primer before. Okay, fine. Ronnie or Casey will show you how to mix the primer.
That's
And
cool.
you can either shoot it if you're not comfortable with it. Well, and they show you how they want you to tape it off if you got to to tape it off.
Mhm.
And if you're not comfortable with shooting it and you know how to mix it, as long as you keep them in primer and you're in the booth with them, they'll shoot it for you.
Wow.
Then you take the
Exactly.
car out of the booth, and then they show you how to do the body work. And Ronnie and Casey, if the pencil comes out, they're marking your goddamn car up. Circle, L means low, high, and they're going to map out the whole car. This is what you need to fix. And they'll just come back and they'll check on you as you're doing it. If you have a question, you ask them.
That's cool,
And that's
man.
what you do. And then when they put the next coat of primer on it, it's ready to go. They show you how to block it out and get it all ready and get it all straight. When it's blocked out, they'll put the sealer on it. And then when it's ready for paint, if you're not comfortable painting it, they'll show you how to mix the paint. And then you mix the paint, you get the paint ready. You're in the booth with them, they'll shoot it for you.
That's real deal teaching. That's just like what we talked about. That's better than in-house, the schooling that they get. Now,
Exactly.
do you guys have a big attendance?
Oh, we're turning people away now. When I worked there part-time, when I first started working there, they were talking about shutting it down. But I tell everybody about it.
Yeah, because that's the best value ever. $250 for 16 weeks
16
of having these minds around you that are actually very intelligent. But the biggest thing is they're willing to help you.
Right.
You know, not a lot of intelligent people who have everything are willing to help you. Wow.
Hold on. All right, there it is. Okay. That's Eric. That's Eric in the picture.
Uh-huh.
That's a 54 truck, right?
Right.
Eric dabbles.
Oh my God.
Eric dabbles. He's good at what he does. He's an IT guy, right? He brings in the truck. I was supposed to put a front end under it years ago, but I never could get it done because I've just been too busy. Yeah. So I told Eric, come into class, I can help you there, and we'll do it. So we talked. He's like, well, why don't we just do the whole frame? All right, fine. He